I think we are live now. What's up, everybody? My name is Jared Allison. This is another episode 3 of Whiskey with an Agent. Today, we're going to be talking about getting your home listed. So, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about, but most importantly, we're going to be drinking whiskey. And so, I hope you guys stay tuned. I've got a cool intro. All right, man. I got Chris Noon here with me, and my name's Jared Allison again with JDA Florida Homes. We're both agents for Century 21 Alton Clark. I found out that I was saying it wrong. I was saying Alton Clark, and it should be Alton Clark. Nobody ever corrected
Yeah.
me.
Oh, it's not about I corrected you
I know.
earlier
Well,
today.
you're the first one.
Yeah. And it's so
correct
funny.
me, so.
It's so funny. It's named after our broker. Like, I think his middle name's Alton, and if after his grandfather. Not even he's corrected you. Senior hasn't corrected you.
No.
It's really funny.
No, but you know what? I had a friend back in high school, and his dad's name was Alton, but he pronounced it Alton. So, but they're from
Ah,
Louisiana, so maybe it's the way they pronounce it over there. I'm not really sure.
I can
But so
see
I
that.
always said Alton. That's why I started saying Alton. And but what do you
We're
got
just going
there?
off of what you know. So this, if anybody recognizes this little horseman,
Ooh,
this is
nice.
Blanton's. So I actually won this in a raffle over the weekend. And I hear good things about Blanton's. And so my local watering hole, they always do some kind of raffle. Last time it was Fitzgerald, and this time was the Blantons. And so I actually won. So before coming on here, I actually realized that, like, oh snap, I actually won. I need to go pick this up because it was perfect timing. So I've never had this before, and so I'm really excited to try
Sweet.
this out. So
Now, do you drink it? Do you drink it straight? You got a whiskey ball in there?
yeah, I got a whiskey ball. It melted down, so I got some water in it. But this is the famous golf ball.
Yep.
Golf ball with the molding, golf ball molding.
Oh, okay. So it's just a little plastic molding. You fill it up and then pop it in the freezer. Nice.
That's it. Oh,
I just
wow,
got.
that's good.
Is it?
Yeah. What do you got?
I've got my. It's the same one I was drinking last time. The Glenlivet Founders Reserve.
So you haven't touched that in a month.
Well, so I've been literally out of town for about a month. So doing some training for the airlines. I work for the airlines as well, and so I was doing some training. So I really haven't been home to drink it. However, while I was out there, I was drinking. I just got a little bottle of Maker's Mark to kind of keep me in check out there.
I like it.
So,
you can't go wrong with Maker's Mark. That stuff is just delicious.
Yes, yeah, Maker's Mark is pretty good, nice and smooth. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to pull up comments on here. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But so tonight, we're going to talk about getting your house listed. So there's a lot of stuff to think about when you're getting ready to list your home. It's not just fill out some paperwork, have an agent come over, and then jump right into it. There's a little bit more to it than that. There's some strategies that get involved with it. Chris and I have been, Chris has been doing this for quite a while. I've been doing it for about a year and a half now, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And that's what we're going to talk about today is getting your home prepared, getting it ready to put it on the market, getting it on the market and going through contracts and everything. That's a whole nother show. Chris and I decided that we'll do another show later on about that stuff. But for just getting your home ready, there's a lot of stuff to do.
Yep. And it really kind of goes into play of just really getting it ready if you're going to be a for sale by owner or listing with an agent. So we're going to dabble a little bit into that. But the steps, the process that we're going to be going over with is going to be the same whichever way you go. You're going to do for sale by owner or go with an agent. And we're going to explain like why it's important, why you should take things into consideration, given the nature that we're in. It's like, although we're in a seller's market, doesn't mean you can just slap it out there. and get what you want for it. There's a
Right.
step-by-step process, and that's what we're going to cover for you today.
Yep. Um, so one of the first things I wanted to talk about though is, and not get into a whole lot of detail because you could go on and on talking about stats for what statistics of what the market is right now and everything, but from what we're seeing on our end, I mean, it's right now it's still a seller's market. Inventory is still way down. um so you kind of seeing the same thing, Chris?
Oh yeah, it's less than a month's supply, like
Yeah.
of for Central Florida market, less than a month's supply. So at its current absorption rate of people buying, if everyone stopped putting their home on the market right now,
Yep.
condos, single families, townhouses, doesn't matter. If no one put their home on the market, it would last less than a month.
Yep.
So a
Yep.
normal healthy market is 6 months, 6 to 9 months. Anything
Yep.
beyond 9 months is a buyer's market. So
Correct.
we are a long way from that.
Yes. And even so, I mean, for the state of Florida, I think it was somewhere about 1.1, 1.2 months supply. But then when
Mhm.
you start breaking it down into counties or even cities, you're getting into that it's actually less than 1 month.
Mhm.
So so what happens is you put your house on the market, so you actually go under contract, whereas before, and when everything's balanced, like what Chris was talking about, you're actually, it might take you a couple of weeks or even months to get a contract on a house. And that's, you're going through a
Mhm.
bunch of showings and open houses. And then finally you find that right buyer and they come in, they put that, you get that one offer. The way the market is right now, I mean, you're going on the market, you're getting a contract, like literally in some
Mhm.
counties, you're getting under contract. The median time is like 6 days, 5 days
Yes.
even. And it's, and this is kind of the 5 and 6 day is what it is mostly over in Volusia County. Chris, you're over in more in like Longwood, Orlando area. I
Yeah.
think it's
So
it's
Orange
even
is
less over there,
Seminole.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 5, but
Yeah.
it's like, and that usually the day of, if it's that good, if it's the conditions good, which we're going to address predominantly, and the pricing is good, you're going to get sight unseen offers in a matter of hours before 24 hours is even up.
Yep.
So the final days is honestly just calling for highest and best and deciding which offer you're going to go with. That's why it extends to 5 days, because the last home that I sold in Deltona that I covered last time, 30 offers, and we went pending officially 4 days into it, and like 30 offers in 4 days, $10,
Right.
10 offers a day. Like wild.
How long did it take you to go through all 30 offers?
Hours. I did a video. Like I spent all day just going through those offers, compiling, looking through all of the details, because details matter. And if
Right.
I'm a one-stop agent, a one-stop shop, then it's maddening going through them all, calling the lenders, verifying information, verifying
Yeah.
funds for those who are waiving the appraisal contingency. So we're getting into the weeds here, but you could easily be that statistic as a seller and sell it that quick, and for buyers to waive the appraisal contingency, or you could slap it up there, and just throw it up there half-assed, and you're not going to get it. Instead of 5 days, you're going to get it like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yep.
And it's because you didn't take the necessary steps to get it ready. So you could be part of the group, or you could sit there and be like, what's wrong? And you're going to blame your agent because they didn't educate themselves or educate you enough regarding the process. And
Right.
therefore it creates that stigma of why agents are bad.
Exactly. Exactly. And that kind of leads us into, the first part of what we're going to talk about. So when you're getting ready to list your home on the market, first thing a lot of people think about is, well, maybe I could do it on my own. The market is hot. Why not go for sale by owner? So, and there's some good things about it, but there's a lot of bad things that can happen if you don't really know, number one, the market, number two, just the industry, the real estate industry itself, and all the
Mhm.
paperwork, the contracts, and everything that you have to abide by in order to stay legal. So there's a lot of legalities when it comes to selling your home that you're not necessarily covered by when you're doing for sale by owner.
Yes. And if you don't know the contracts, but that's again another video that we're going to discuss. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's you really have to pay attention to the legal steps of it, understanding things, and this is what's going to help you if you decide to go for sale by owner.
Yep. Yeah. So, um, so I mean, like I said, the for sale by owner, yes, you can save, or you feel like you're actually saving on realtor fees, because realtor fees anywhere from 4 to 6% ish, depending on what
Your
kind of
agreement
agent
with the
you
agent.
have. Yeah, your agreement with the agent. Um, so yeah, it seems like you're saving something. However, there's something that you're not really considering is most of the time when people list for sale by owner, they're actually listing below what the actual value of the home is. So you're actually not making as much, and that could be pretty significant in some cases. I forget what the actual stat or the percentage is. You remember what it is by chance?
Um, I used to. It
Yeah,
was close to 20% almost
yeah,
under, but I'm gonna be devil's advocate because right now for sale by owners are getting what they're asking because of our current market.
true.
So, and I've worked with for sale by owners. I've had great experiences and I've had crap experiences. I've had
Hmm.
know-it-alls and I've had those who were grateful that I was walking them through the process because they didn't realize how much was involved with it at the end of the day. So, but if you feel like you're cut out for it, by all means, go for it, give it a shot. But don't be afraid to call for help,
Yeah,
especially if you know an agent.
yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. I mean,
Mhm. If
there's
this was a different market, like sellers are absolutely getting under what they're thinking,
yep,
and but there's a lot of for sale by owners that are getting exactly what they're asking for or more.
yeah,
So
yeah.
just to be devil's advocate.
That's hey, that I mean, and that's a very true statement. And then the other thing to think about though is when you do the for sale by owner. Trying to think of a good analogy. So I mean, I fly airplanes for a living, so
Mhm.
or for my other job, and so if somebody needs a pilot, they're going to hire a pilot. If somebody needs to sell their house, are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire somebody that's in the market who knows all the ins and outs, who knows the strategies, who knows how to market it and
Mhm.
everything like that in order to get top dollar for? I mean, you're getting top dollar, as you said, if if you put it out there and you do a good job
And do it
on
right.
marketing.
Mhm.
But what's that?
Yeah, and if you do it right, so it's just kind
Right.
of compounding with yeah, and it really is very much just think of it as like a mechanic. You can do it on your own.
Correct.
But is it the right way? Is it enough? Are you just
Is
slapping a band-aid on it? Or
ex-
like are you out of your wheelhouse? You know,
exactly.
you go to the dentist because you're not a dentist. You go to a lawyer because you're not a lawyer. So we're that same line of profession. We're a realtor because we know we know what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Um, but I can't speak for every realtor that's out there. That's
Right.
why there's a difference between agents and realtors.
Yep. And then, the other thing is, so one of the downsides is when you list as for sale by owner, you're actually not going to be syndicated to a lot of the websites, such as,
Correct.
like realtor.com. And unless you manually, if they have a platform for you to go on there and list your home, unless they have a platform for you to manually do that, you're not going to be on those
Mhm.
platforms. So typically, you're going to go to Zillow, you're going to list it for sale by owner, and that's the only place people are going to find your listing. So that is one of
Mhm.
the downsides. And I wanted to share something. Let me pull it up here. Uh, difficulties. There we go.
Audio too.
Shit. I think it's coming back. Is it back yet? I just hit a bunch of buttons. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know if
Okay.
our audience can hear you.
Somebody will let us
Not
know.
explaining.
Okay. Oh, you know what happened? I think since I didn't have. Okay, so what I was showing before. What I was showing before is so that was my bad. I forgot to put the audio when I played that video, and that's probably going to happen on the rest of these images that I have posted that I want to show you guys. But we'll make it work. So the video I was showing, it is a for sale by owner, and I took a screenshot. I took a video of the actual Google search for his property, and the only thing that came up was Zillow. That's the only thing that came up. All the other websites, Realtor.com, Redfin, whatever else came up on the first page there. It all showed the old listing from when it was sold before. It didn't show any new stuff. I went on and put it on the market, and then I did another screenshot or a video of the same Google search, and then you have all the websites, Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, Century 21 showed up. All of these other ones kept showing up on the search. So that's something to be said. You just have to be careful if you're going to list for sale by owner, that you have to make sure that you're displaying it out into the to the internet, because that's where people are shopping for homes right now. So
yeah. Like over 96 to 98% of buyers right now are online shopping for their next house. And they're also doing that compared to so when they're selling their house. So as a for sale by owner, you have to realize that you're missing out on 94% of the market, at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, for sale by owners are getting what they want because people are desperate. People are looking everywhere, and for sale by owners are getting what they want. Just to play devil's advocate, but it doesn't mean it's for everyone. It doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. Instead, you're going to get a bunch of phone calls from realtors trying to list your house because we're in such desperate need for housing. And the number one reason why people aren't listing their house is because they can't find their next house. So it's the fear of not finding the next home.
Yep.
So if everyone just got over that fear and just put a sign in the ground by Monday, the housing market will go back into a normal session.
Yeah.
So,
well, not only are they, where was I going with that? Not only, dang it, I already forgot. It was something what you said too. Oh, I'll just.
That's okay. Nah, you're just multitasking over there. You're like, we need like an engineer to be able to handle all the stuff that we're saying. You're kind of double dipping while drinking. So
yeah.
But so we can go on and on about like for sale by owners, and we're trying not to get into the weeds of it. We're just trying to just say there are pros and cons, and that's enough of the FSBO. Going into an agent is that you have the experience. You have someone. When you interview an agent, you can look at their experience. You can look at the track record. You can ask for how many days on market. What's the average sales price? Their average commission splits. You can ask for references, and then that way you can make an educated decision on how that agent is going to best represent you. Because at the end of the day, you're not only paying an agent to market the property, you're also paying that agent to represent you, protect you, set you in the proper expectations. Because when everything goes right, you feel like some people feel like, oh, I paid too much. Yeah. When things are going wrong, you're blaming that agent and you're paying them too much. That thought. So would you rather have a smooth as butter process or a headache nightmare constantly going back and forth?
Yeah.
So you get what you pay for. Expensive is cheap and cheap is expensive.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I like that.
So when we list a property, as an agent, so you're paying for everything. And not only that, I missed one thing out is that we're also kind of babysitting the buyer's agent. Now, I'm predominantly a buyer's agent, so I'm knocking myself on that because I have to give regular updates to the listing agent and to the seller so that they're aware of the process and feel comfortable. So when I'm a listing agent, I expect the same thing from every buyer's agent that I work with. Like whether I know you or not, I'm going to call you on a weekly basis or expect to call and be like, what's going on? The way I can make you as a seller feel comfortable about what's happening. If something is occurring, here's what the issue is. Here's the solutions, or here's the drawbacks, and here's the drawbacks. So that's essentially the pros and the cons. So you can do it yourself and not know what's going on. You could act like a mechanic and get through it, but it might not be pleasant, and you might have a more disdain for realtors because you're just unfamiliar with it. You're uneducated with the process.
Correct.
And or you can list an agent who you vetted and you're having a great experience with. And that's the cool thing about going with an agent is that you can feel comfortable knowing what's happening.
Right.
So that's the pros and the cons of like for sale by owner. And if you want to go more into it, feel free to reach out to Jared or myself, and we could do that. So Jared, did you have anything to capitalize?
No, I mean, that's all good stuff. I mean, it's, so, for sale by owner, so it's one of those things you just kind of have to weigh out how much work do you want to put in, because chances are if you're selling a house, you've probably got to pack, you've probably got to look for a new house, you've probably got to plan out your move. Last thing you want to do is, I mean, for me, the last thing I would want to do is think about selling, or doing it all myself, not knowing the entire process. But again, it's, we're not here to talk you out of it. We're not here to talk you into it. We're just here to
give you the information.
Give you the information. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, on the same side, with realtors, there's also pros and cons to that side too. And I mean, we could go into to that, but
countless scenarios.
Exactly. But, so I mean, there's the nice thing with the realtor, like I said, it's taking it off of your plate. So if you've already got a lot going on, you got work, you got all that stuff, go get a realtor. Go interview several people, at least two, but I would say, at least
three.
I'd say more than that.
But at least three.
Most people they call up a realtor. Hey, you want to list my house? Okay, cool. When can you start? And that's pretty much it. They don't even talk to a second person. I usually get a couple of quotes if I have people come over and they're doing work. If I'm going to build a fence, if I'm going to get an irrigation system, I'm going to get 2 or 3 quotes before I hire somebody, because I want to make sure A, I'm getting the best price, B, they're going to do a good job and they're a good company, and I want to compare the 3 or the 2 or the 4 or 5 or whatever I'm looking at. So
I probably wouldn't do anything more than 5, because you're not going to remember the first agent you interviewed. True. I would stick it to about 3. 3 different offices, or 3 of the same office, whatever it is. 2 of your friends and one complete stranger. And then you just kind of go make your decision on what's best fit for you. And understand, like, are you an analytical person or are you an emotional person?
Right.
Those 2 factors are very important on how I determine who I'm working with.
Right.
But once you know which way you're going to go, if you're going to go for sale by owner, if you're going to hire a realtor, the next step that we, and Jared and I thought about this, what's the next step of the process? It's essentially maybe a pre-listing inspection of knowing what's going on in your system. You got to know your system, because your house is a borderline living organism.
Correct.
It's got a roof. It protects you. It's, and then you have your plumbing that allows water in and out. You got your power, your electrical, and then you have your AC, your HVAC system. So these are huge components. And if you don't know what you're dealing with and how the insurance companies are acting now, then you're going to be completely taken back. And the agent that you hire, or if you do it yourself, if you don't know this, you're in for a very rude awakening. And I cannot stress you enough how many homes I'm going into, and the roof is compromised, You have galvanized and cast iron plumbing with polybutylene plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
You have a Fed panel or with aluminum wiring, the original panel from '76. And then possibly wood rot if it's a V8 loan. If you
Right.
don't understand what's happening, or if say you bought your house a year ago and you're like, my insurance was fine, I didn't have any issues. Welcome to 2021, where every insurance company is either leaving Florida, they're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with fraud on a record level right now, and they're definitely saying no to
Yep.
everything.
Yes.
So if you don't know your systems, good luck having any loan close on that home that because of insurance issues. And I promise you. Do we have examples of things?
I do. So let me so the audio is not attached to it, but I can kind of flash it up there and then people can see and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But so you mentioned, the air conditionings, and really there's not a whole lot to look at here. So I just put up a picture of, basically an air handler and then some compressors. And so, essentially, I mean, when there's for all the systems at your house, I mean, you want to try to figure out what the age is of all the systems. You can hear me now, right? Okay. Um, so you want to know what the age is, whether it's your HVAC or your roof or your electrical panels, stuff like that. But for air conditionings, I mean, there's only so much a homeowner can do other than just kind of visual inspections. You could hire somebody to come out and do a routine maintenance. Usually it's, about 70 to $100, something like that, to come out and do um, some sort of maintenance on it or just a checkup on it. But typically a visual inspection is going to be good. I mean, does it work? That's probably the biggest thing. Does it blow cold air? Um, but
In its efficiency range. That's important.
Yep. And then just uh how old is it? So, obviously the older it is, you may end up having some issues when a buyer looks at it. They're going to want some sort of credit or, something along those lines if it's a really old system. And it depends. From what I've seen, it kind of depends, especially your outside units, how long they last. Sometimes over on the coast, if you're beachside, you might get 5 or 6 years out of your compressor just because of the salty air. There's a lot of rust that goes on, a lot of corrosion. Whereas when you're inland a little bit, you might get 15, 20 if you're lucky. I mean, if you really took care of it. But I mean, what do you typically see?
Essentially, there's a difference between beyond its useful life
Mm-hmm.
and declared dead, because you can still have a 13-year-old or a 2008, 2000, a 1980s AC and still work within its efficiency range. So although it's beyond its useful life, and insurance companies can backlash that, but your argument is it's still running within its efficiency range. So they'll give it a little bit of pushback, but you can essentially get past that. If it's out of its efficiency range, sometimes all it takes is a coolant. All the time it takes some just an update and maintenance, or just have someone come and service it. And it's back within its efficiency range. And if that's the case, go ahead and get a warranty for it, a 1-year warranty. That way you can kind of save up as a buyer and get that addressed.
Yep.
Your biggest issue is going to be your roof, and it's going to be your plumbing, and it's going to be your electrical.
Yep.
Those are the biggest things.
Yep. And the roof, let me flash a picture. So the picture I just put up, there you go. How is that? Is it going down pretty easy?
It's really good. All right. So what's the image that you flashed up?
So basically, what I kind of categorize, you have the 3-tab, you have architectural, and then you have tile roofing. There's 10 roofing or metal roofing now, but that's kind of a whole different category. But as far as like the tiles go, or the shingles, you have the tiles, architectural, and the 3 tabs. So what I see mostly over here on on the houses are the architectural. Those tend to last a little bit longer. They hold up better against the weather. The 3 tabs, I can't remember what are those are good for about what 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 10 years, and then architectural is somewhere what 15 to 20 years, or maybe a little bit
15
longer.
to 22.
Yeah. So, and then tile, I mean, those things, as long as nothing's busting them up, I mean, those things last for quite a long time.
Good 30 plus years. So
Yeah.
just really depends on like how it's being constructed. So to
Mhm.
give you an idea, when like what is the difference? A three tab shingled roof is flat. It looks like a
Right.
brick road or a checkerboard. When you see shingles on the ground, most commonly it came from that style of roof.
Correct.
So if you see a house and there is just, or if you're going to see a house as a buyer and you see shingles just kind of ripped off, like
Mhm.
that's hell no. That's not going to pass for insurance purposes.
Right.
And insurance purposes, generally, I am definitely talking about anything that's 20 years or older. So, or
Yeah.
30 years. I think it's 30 years. So we're looking at 1991. Anything that's
Yep.
older than 1991 is required a 4-point inspection. The 4-point is the things that we've been talking about. It's your roof, your HVAC, your plumbing, and electrical.
Mhm.
So if you had to get that, if any of those things are just compromised, you're screwed. You're SOL. So as a seller, you need to. It's advised if the realtor you're hiring is not aware of this, you need to be aware of this. And
Yes.
what you can do is you can do a mock. You can do a mock trial with your insurance company and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I am a buyer, and here's a 4-point because they're going to be required a 4-point." You submit it, and if they write a new policy, they're going to be like, "We can't write a new policy because of X, Y, and Z."
Right.
So that's why we're kind of going over this as like kind of like a side tangent. That's why you need to know your systems. If you have a 3-tab roof and it's more than 10 years old, there's a good chance an insurance company is going to want that replaced first.
Yep.
Okay, architectural is good for 15 years, but even insurance companies are 15 to 20. But even at 10 years, 12 years, 15 years old, even if the inspector declares it 5+ years of life left, the insurance companies can still balk a little bit
Mhm.
or push. So you
Yep.
might get some pushback on that. In that case, you just need to find the right insurance agent.
Right.
And sometimes you just need to do it just to get the deal done. And then once you're closed, you can just go find whatever insurance company you should be good to go, whatever you want.
Right.
And so the next thing is pretty much the plumbing I want to
Yep.
touch because we gotta move. We got a bunch of topics we gotta burn through here.
Yeah.
The plumbing, your biggest issues, if you have copper or PVC, you're good to go for the most part, depending on how old that copper is. But galvanized steel and cast iron are no-go because they both rust.
Right.
They rust from the inside out. So that's not good. You don't want that going into your system. Insurance companies don't want that going onto your clothes, and it's harmful to the body, obviously.
Right.
So if you have cast iron in there, good luck having insurance, a buyer being able to get financed through insurance. If you have polybutylene is a great pipe with copper fittings.
Right.
Once you see that, or sometimes they're black fittings or like another different type of color, but still like polybutylene. It's a gray pipe. If you have that, those are absolutely known for pinhole leaks. Just pinhole leaks. So by the time you actually notice it, that sucker has been going off for a month easy and just destroying the inside of your wall.
Yes. Yep.
So how do you know what you have? You can go to your hot water heater and you can look at the pipe that's going into the wall.
Yep.
If you can't really determine that, go look under your sink. Look at the pipe coming out of the wall. And you should be able to take like a key to it. Ding, ding, ding. Like, okay, that's copper. Copper also erodes. It turns green. That's why the Statue of Liberty is green.
Right.
So it's copper. So
I thought they just
steel.
painted it that color.
Oh, no. Little history lesson for you. So also, hot water heater is kind of an issue, but it's a $200 to $500 fix. So you can get a nice tankless hot water heater for like $600. It's nothing. What we're talking about is just essentially the components that are going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Right.
And that's something you got to take into consideration as a seller. If you can't afford to fix this, then you better be willing or have an agent that's creative enough that knows what they're doing to get possibly an escrowed holdback. I'm not going to get into that,
Right.
but that's one way to get beyond it and get to the closing, because not every seller unfortunately has thousands of dollars to fix this stuff.
Right.
You're going to find your older issues, the galvanized and the plumbing issues and the electrical issues we're about to touch on, is those older communities, early 1900s to
Yep.
mid 1900s to essentially about the 1970s is when you're going to find those big ticket items with the HVAC system, the plumbing, and the electrical for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
Anything you want to share on the plumbing? I know I kind of took
No,
off
I mean,
with that. I deal with it on such a regular basis. It's like mind-boggling to me. I have to argue this all the time with listing agents, and they're like, "I wasn't aware of that." Like, you should.
You should. No, I think you killed it on that. Let's move into. Let me throw up an elect. All right, so there's a couple electrical boxes. So I mean, there's these two are old, and they're. Anytime you see those, you see them, Chris. Anytime you see those,
yeah, God, geez, those are ugly colors.
Those breaker boxes with the colors on it. Oh man, you should just turn around and run the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know. I mean, I'm joking, but you should, but you should. No, it's something that definitely 100% has to be addressed. You cannot, I don't know if there's an insurance company out there that would insure an old breaker panel like that. I mean, it's a fire hazard. It's just they're not going to do it.
I can only see insurance companies taking on high risk properties if they're brand new companies. They need to get into the market share, so they're willing to take on very large liabilities just to get into the market. And then once they get to a certain threshold, they all know their numbers. Once they get to a certain threshold, they're going to go ahead and start start chomping on people and then they're going to be just fine. But if you see multicolored breakers, red flag. If you see the companies Zinco, Sylvania, Federal Pacific, Zinco, Sylvania, Federal Pacific. There's one more I'm forgetting. And those are all essentially outdated boxes. Those are aluminum wirings.
Yep.
So that right there, the box itself is about $2,500, depending on the size of the house and how many sub panels or things like that is being required to it. So there's the main box that's outside of pretty much every single house. That's your power coming into it. And then you have sub panels inside, and sometimes you can find one, and sometimes you can find two. But if you spend money, this actually just happened. It was a 1949 house. They spent some money on a new sub panel that was supposed to be for 125 amp. That was supposed to help out with this. Well, when we did our inspection, they didn't adjust the panel on the outside of the house. That was only 100 amp. Now, I'm not an electrician, but it's great that you have a sub panel at 125, but the power coming in is still 100.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the conversion if 100 just automatically turns into 125 and how that works, but that panel outside is no go. It's not optimal, and it's a 1,200 square foot house.
Yeah.
So 100 amps with today's technology. Your Xbox, your TV, your other computers, your microwave, your fridge, your stove, all these things that are on at once, could easily pop and just screwed. Could easily just pop it. Yeah. So as a seller, you got to be aware of what you have and how that's going to hurt you, because what you have, and if you can address it, what we're going to get into is pricing. Right. Because if you can't fix it, you got to adjust that price.
Yeah. And I have a comment from Derek. From Derek in here. He said he used to have, I think he said it, Federal Pacific. They used to have one and then they had to change it out. Otherwise, no insurance. So, I mean, their insurance was going to drop them. So they had to change it out. He didn't say how much it was to change it out. Usually, what'd you say? It's like 1,500, 2,000 bucks, something like that to change it
Yeah,
out,
depending on
depending
the
on
size of it and everything.
yeah, depending on the size. But yeah, that's it's not fun. It's something that can definitely be remedied. It's something that can be negotiated, and will be negotiated. If you're selling a
Hmm.
house, it'll be negotiated by the buyer's end. If you're the buyer, you definitely want to negotiate that into the price,
The offer.
or even have the seller fix it or change it
Yeah.
before you transfer everything. So
Yeah, like, and here's the thing about hiring an agent. If you're gonna hire an agent, is that an agent should be aware of this.
yeah,
They should tell you as a seller and
yeah,
as a buyer, your agent, as you're looking through the home while you're doing, oh, it's beautiful. I can put my couch there. I can
right,
do things over here. The agent should be poking their head underneath the cabinets and being like, what kind of
exactly,
plumbing you got? What kind of electrical panel you got?
yeah,
This is an issue. This is an issue. We
yeah,
can write an offer, but here's what's going to happen.
right,
And then you can address that with the listing agent. And if they're smart enough, they've already had that conversation with the seller.
exactly,
And as a
exactly,
for sale by owner, you got to know it. Again, like, you don't have anyone telling you this except for
right,
if you don't know it, you're going to get a surprised look on your face from when the buyer's agent or when the buyer says we can't get insurance. Why? It's just, well, because you have polybutylene and you have a Fed panel. Well, I have insurance. Like, that's going to be a buyer issue and not a you issue. When
right,
reality, it's a you as a seller issue.
right. Yeah. And Derek said it. He said it was when they bought the house, and it was $1,800 to change.
See, that's not too
So
bad.
no,
It
that's not
really
bad at
isn't.
all. No, but again, it was one of those things that you're not going to get insurance unless it gets changed.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. So, and that was the case for him. You know, he's buying this house. They love it. Hopefully, their agent kind of showed them the way and said, hey, you're going to run into this issue at some point. Either when we
Yep.
buy it or if we negotiate it in or the sellers change it or whatever the case. But hopefully the agent educated them when they bought the house. I'm not sure if that's the case, but
We can only hope. But Jared, you were part of our company meeting this morning, and we pulled up the stats on the amount of homes coming back on market is increasing over and over and over again.
yeah,
And if you look on the days on market from when it went on market to pending to back on market. So from when it went pending to back on market, if you see it is within 10 days, that's the inspection period. Something's up with that house.
yes,
that the seller doesn't want to address.
correct.
That right there is essentially not necessarily a red flag. I would say about an orange flag. Proceed with caution.
Correct.
Caveat emptor.
Yep.
Buyer beware.
Yep.
All right. That's an actual phrase.
Yes.
Caveat emptor.
Yep.
And so
yeah.
Jared, proceed.
Let's we've talked a lot about electrical. Let's touch on wood rot real quick. Just let me throw up a picture. So I mean, all right. So so I just threw up a picture and it has some wood rot, and a lot of people freak out when they see WDOs. It's wood destroying organism. Oh my God, I've got termites. My house is gonna fall apart. Hey, cheers. Hey, everybody in the chat or that's watching, if you're drinking, cheers.
Cheers, y'all. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Yeah, man. That's I'm glad everybody's here.
So yeah, that was a pretty disgusting image. I just saw it.
Yeah. So I mean, it does. It gets scary. But wood rot is not the end all be all of a house. I mean, it could be bad if you had a bunch of termites, stuff like that. But most of the time, you have wood rot. You know, on my old house that we sold, we had T111 siding, and for a while there, there was no gutters on that house, so the rain just came off the roof, it hit the ground, and it splashed right back up onto the siding. And so, believe it or not, hey, there's some wood rot right there. So before I sold the house, I actually went and I replaced all those panels, and that way it wasn't an issue when I came to it. Now, And it was noticeable. I mean, there was parts where you could kind of kick it, and the wood was kind of, you could tell it was rotten. The
Loose.
way it sounded, the way it looked, the way it was loose. Little pieces were coming off and everything. But like I said, it's some people, they see WDOs even when they get an inspection report, they see that and they freak out a little bit. It's not something that you don't necessarily have to freak out. Now, if there are termites, and that can be a big deal. Looked like you were going to say something there, Chris.
No, I was actually just kind of burping off to the side.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
Well, I do have a lot to say to it, but I was engaged on your story there of like what you came across and everything. Yeah. And there's always something to be said and added on to that. But if there's more to the story, like how did you have to address it? When you did address it, what did you discover?
It was literally just a few panels along the bottom part of the siding. So we cut that off, we replaced it, painted it,
and that was water damage essentially, right?
And that was just water damage. It wasn't actual wood destroying organisms, but it was wood rot.
It classifies as a wood destroying organism.
Well, I guess but go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, continue.
No,
I'm going to go on a tangent.
It wasn't a huge deal. It was, it's something that can be fixed pretty easily. So it's not something that you gotta just, really freak out. I mean, a lot of people, like I said, they hear WDOs and it's like termites, my house is going to fall down.
Yeah, that's the scariest part. Also, it depends on how sensitive you are to mold and mildew, because that's also a wood destroying organism. Another classification is essentially moisture damage. We live in Florida. There's going to be moisture. Some aspect of your house is made of wood, if not a wood frame home.
Correct.
The most common areas of block homes for wood frame home for block homes on wood rot is going to be the actual door frames itself, from an outside of the garage or the front door, depending on how exposed it is to elements such as rain. That's where you're going to get your wood rot. Now, the biggest thing, Chris, Chris and Jared, why is this an issue? Well, if you're a VA, a veteran, VA requires all homes to have a clean WDO report. Termites, mold, mildew, moisture, and I feel like I'm missing one more, but I think that's it. Just mold, mildew, moist water damage, and termites, obviously. So if any of that comes up dirty, windowsills is a huge common one. 100% windowsills is huge. And if you want to know if your own home, if you're just curious after watching this video, what you can do is just take like a screwdriver and just go around the window. I have a window right here, and just start tapping on it.
Just tap on
with a little bit of force. And if your screwdriver goes into it, you have a leak. Your wood, the frame of the window is now compromised. So you probably need to get it checked out, whether it's moisture damage or termite, whatever it is. But most likely it's going to be moisture, and you just go ahead and get it resealed. It's pretty simple. But you need to be aware. You need to do annual inspections. So as a seller, prepping your house, especially if you have an older house, and it's a good idea to spend about $300 to $500, depending on how big your house is, to get a 4-point, if it's over 30 years old, to get a general inspection. So when you are ready to go on to the market, you can say, hey, buyer, full disclosure, bam, and you can slap them with it. And this is something that I do kind of offer to my sellers. Just like, we can get this done, and I'll just reimburse you at closing. Some homes, I will say, there's I did my own little pre-inspection because I've done it enough, and I'm like, there's nothing really that's going to stand out with the exception of this, and this, and we address that as it comes. So it's you need to be aware with it, and that's why we're going into such detail. So is it a good idea to get a pre-listing inspection if your home is older than 30 years? Yeah, you probably should. Now, if you're if you and every realtor you're coming across is having a hard time determining value of a property, get an appraisal. Spend $500 to get an appraisal, because that is not arguable whatsoever.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
That's definitive. And you can
Yeah.
slap that and be like, at appraised value, we'll furnish upon request.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and that you kind of eliminate a lot of room for negotiation from a buyer if you
Mhm.
have that appraisal. It's and you hand that you can hand don't hand it to them right in the beginning. Let them make an offer because they may come in above it,
Yeah.
and then
Well, if there's demand, like in today's market, you could say at appraised value. Everyone,
Mhm.
and you could probably just offer it there so people can actually look at it. And so that agent with the buyer can do their own negotiations like, hey, we know it's at appraised value.
Right.
Let's go up 10 grand. We have the cash. We can just go
Right.
ahead and waive the appraisal and go ahead.
Right.
And boom. Not only did you get what you wanted by providing proof, you actually got more because of the market that we're in.
Exactly. Man.
God, I love real estate.
I know.
Damn, I love this job.
Oh,
So,
sometimes.
all right. So based on everything, okay.
Yes.
But final thoughts on pre-inspections or appraisals, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, it's a case by case thing whether or not you should
Mhm.
hire an inspector to come out and do it. Most of these things you can
Mhm.
go around and just kind of take note, look at how old everything is, if it looks relatively in good condition. I
Mhm.
mean, think about if you went to buy a car, typically you're not going to have a mechanic, unless it's a really old car.
Yeah.
You're going to have, or you're buying from a used car salesman or somebody shady, but typically,
Buy here, pay here.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you might bring a mechanic out there, but for your home is you can go around and you can relatively kind of get an idea of the condition of that everything is in. Um, at least know how old it is. Check for any leaks, and then as we talked about, looking for any wood rot or going around, like Chris said with the screwdriver, and just checking for what's going on around your house. Just know. But if you're not sure, you're not comfortable doing it, there's no harm in hiring an inspector. I mean, at least that way you have a report, so that way you can go in and you can fix these things, or what's wrong with it and what you're going to get hit with from a buyer.
Yeah. So it's setting proper expectations. That's it right there. You know what you're going to get hit with.
Yes.
If you have the money to address it, address it.
Exactly.
Because that actually, you're going to get that money back because you're solidifying the price that you're going after.
Correct.
All right.
And that's
that's what we're going to go into. Yeah, that's exactly what we're about to go into.
Yep.
So if you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, you got to adjust your price or be ready to be hit with it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So going into that's the next thing we're going to talk about is price. So I mean, you've done your pre-inspection, you've figured out what's wrong with the house or what's right with the house, and we're going to look at all of those things. And then as agents, as realtors, we're going to go into the MLS, we're going to do comparables, we're going to do all this stuff, and we're going to come up with, hey, your house is estimated to be worth X amount. And we're not just taking into account other homes that sold in your area. That is part of the equation, but also what we just learned on the pre-inspection, where we looked at your HVAC, your electrical, the plumbing, the roof, all that stuff. Everything is going into the price of the home because we're estimating, okay, homes are selling for this. A new buyer is going to have to fix this, or a new buyer, you just updated this, so they're not going to have to fix this. And that could be, that's going to essentially it's going to raise what the value of the home is going to be. So there's more than just looking at, well, this home next door sold for 500,000, so obviously my home is worth 500,000 or 510,000 because I just painted the back bedroom or something. So oh geez,
oh boy, here it comes.
Here comes the dog.
That's hilarious.
So, but anyways, so there's a lot that goes into pricing, and that's kind of what we do as agents going into the MLS. That's usually where I start. I go into the MLS and I start looking at the neighborhood. I start looking at comparables within, if I can find it within a mile around your house, then I start looking at that, and then I start going out, and then we start adding in all those other little factors. So there's a little bit more in depth to it than just next door sold for 500, two doors down sold for 510. We'll
Yeah.
call it in the middle 505. Okay, cool. That's
Yep.
not, that'll get you,
hmm
a little bit, but it's not always
Yeah.
gonna work.
No way. And we'll do a very deep dive, and we'll actually provide true analysis and of how to price a home and what it takes to price a home, because we want to be
Yeah.
on the same page as the appraisals. So we're not going to go too much into that. And before we get too much further into pricing, Jared, Derek actually brought up a very good point that we did not touch. People lose a sale. This is Derek saying people lose the sale on buying a house because the previous owner hasn't permitted some things. And that is absolutely a huge factor.
Hmm.
So you can absolutely, there's nothing in law saying you have to really have a permit that I'm aware of. And I think that's county by county basis. I think it just really depends on this. A roof, you have to have a permit. Electrical, I think you have to have a permit after a certain voltage that you're dealing with. You have to have a permit. When it comes to HVAC, plumbing, I'm not 100% sure.
HVAC, yes.
So you do?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
At
good
least
to know.
in my experience, because when we sold our old home, we actually had an open permit on that hadn't been closed on the new air conditioning that had been installed, and we had to get it inspected, and before we could actually go to closing, and the title company actually found it.
Yeah, I think that's case by case, but my argument is that it doesn't need to be inspected because every AC has a manufacturer's date on it in some form of fashion. Either it's on it or it's embedded in the serial number.
Right.
Whereas plumbing and electrical panel doesn't necessarily have a serial date or a date of installment.
Right.
So if you know for a fact the plumbing has been updated, sometimes that inspector for the buyer has to label it as original. Even though we all know it's been redone in the past 10 years, they still have to label it as original, which can be very harmful. It's like, obviously, if you look at the photos, it's not copper or cast iron, you idiot. It's like, but they have to by their own requirements by the state.
Yes.
So Derek, great point. Thank you very much for bringing that up.
Oh yeah.
Going back into the whole pricing of things, because that's huge.
Yes.
We do price per square foot, and we also look at condition. And if these elements are going to hurt you, if you have a dead roof, less than 5 years left of life, you're going to have an insurance issue. So buyers agents are going to factor that into the price. Say, hey, we'll accept it, but we're going to give you about $10,000 less because that's a $15,000 roof, and you're lucky we're not asking for 15 grand less. Exactly. But we're in a seller's market. Not a lot of people are getting that. But you're going to come across it in the insurance. That's just it. That's just it. Insurance, it's like the scale is forever balancing out.
Yep.
To some degree. Although you have a seller's market, that insurance is going to come and just wreck you and level you right back out as a seller. Okay.
Yeah.
Some degree of fashion, that level is going to be there.
Yep. Yeah. And to that point, it's right now like we said earlier, the market is hot. So if you're a buyer going into it, you have to be prepared to not get any credits on some of these things. I mean, sellers know they have the upper hand. So it's just, as agents, it's almost frustrating sometimes because you want to go in, you're trying to get the best deal for the buyer, and you're negotiating, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the seller and you're like, hey, the roof is, it needs some work or it needs to be replaced, and the seller's like, okay, well, if you don't want to buy it, then we'll just move on to the next person. And that's an advantage that the seller has and a disadvantage that a buyer has. So again, all those things kind of go into the pricing and go into the whole strategy altogether of listing your home, buying a home, all that kind of stuff. And then, kind of the next thing that almost goes hand in hand is, a lot of people so we're talking about listing, getting your home ready for the market, getting it ready to sell. So most people are going to look at their house and they're going to say, man, I've been here, they're looking around. I've been here for 10, 15 years, maybe more, maybe less. I haven't really done any updates. I haven't done any upgrades. What should I upgrade the bathroom? Should I update the kitchen? Should I get the new cabinets? Should I upgrade the appliances? Am I going to get money out of it? I mean, it's one of those things that, like we said before on some of the other things, if you have the money, there's certain things that you can do to the house to make it more presentable, to make it look better for a buyer. You don't want to necessarily go in and spend $20,000 on brand new granite countertops or marble countertops and all new cabinets and high-end appliances and everything. For one, you're not going to get to enjoy it if you're selling your house.
Yeah.
But two, somebody buying your house might not want what you just put, $20 or $30,000 upgrading. They might not want.
Well, may not, but like the next somebody right behind them will go ahead and happily take that, and then just I hate your blue, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this a sky blue instead. Right. Yeah. But it is a serious case by case basis. If you have a lot of liquidity, and if you've been in the house for say like 10 years, and you have say over $100,000 worth of liquidity, and at its current condition, still rocking the 90s vibe. And your neighborhood is saying I can get 310 for this, but at my current condition I can probably only get maybe 210, 215. Well, okay, if we spend $20,000 into the kitchen, $10,000 total for both bathrooms, you're looking at, what's that, $40,000 or $30,000 total and liquidity to get up to a $300,000 sales price. You made that money back plus some. So it's not just so much of like wanting to do it. It's really a case by case basis on what the environment around you, your neighborhood of that mile radius. If you're in a subdivision, you can't really go too far outside that subdivision, especially if it's a gated community. The only reason why you go outside of a community, and I'm getting a little too far into the weeds because this is a whole other subject. But to keep it short, if there's not enough comps inside of a community, you can look at other communities. If there's enough comps within that community, the appraiser is going to stay right there. But you have to weigh that. You have to be educated, because no one pays more for a car than what they know it's worth. No one's going to pay for a house more than what it's worth. Caveat is the fact that we're in this market and people are absolutely paying more than what a house is worth right now. That's the bonkers part of it. But when the appraisal comes in, because that is the set all be all. If the appraisal comes in and you're dealing with a buyer that is not waiving the appraisal and has the cash, they're going to rub it in your face and be like, hey, I'm sorry, unfortunately the appraisal came back $30,000 under. Here's our addendum to agreeing to a new sales price. You have to go ahead and come down. Well, no, you agreed to this. Like, well, we don't have the money. If you want to go ahead and cancel this contract, we can, and we'll do that and we'll take our deposit, which they can, because they're going to get a loan denial because they can't get the loan. Exactly. So there's so much nuance going into this. So this is why it's important to have an agent versus doing a for sale by owner. But as a for sale by owner, you need to be aware of what the market says into the condition. I don't give a shit if the house down the street is matching the same price and you want that price, but you're stuck in the 90s for your house. I don't care. You're not telling a millennial who's in their 30s right now, who are the number one first-time home buyers demographic. They're not taking it. They want the granite. They want they don't want carpet. Very few people want carpet. They want the laminate flooring or tile.
Right.
They want everything modernized with neutral colors.
Right.
They don't want 1990s shell sinks. Okay.
Right. Yes.
They don't want it. And they're not going to pay for it. They're going to undercut you.
Yep. And they're going to see right through.
They're going to see right through it.
They're going to see right through your 1990s, and you've got your Nest thermostat and your Ring doorbell, and you're like, that's my upgrades. I want an extra 10 for that.
That's it.
I've seen that.
So
I've seen that a couple times. I'm like, and they'll highlight, hey, we got a Nest thermostat. I'm like, wow. All right.
Oh,
got a couple $100. Cool. All right.
Alexa.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, cool.
All right.
It's literally nothing. That's and so you have to price accordingly, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to pricing, like once you determine your price, whether you're for sale by owner or you're listing with an agent, you have to go into photos and getting ready to market. Because if you're for sale by owner or if you are listed with an agent, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter when it comes to marketing. It doesn't. It does. But your photos and your video has to match.
Correct.
As a for sale by owner and a listing agent, they need to be the highest quality, because I'm telling you right now, Lexus, Toyota, and all these other name brand cars, when you see that commercial with that car zooming around and doing all the things in it, you don't see a McDonald's cup. You don't see yesterday's workout clothes. You don't see today's shoes. You don't see any of that in their car. You see clean, you see trim, you see your own reflection. That's how your house needs to be. Because everyone has looked at houses and they all scroll through it and be like, look how freaking messy this is. Oh, look, there's the agent taking a photo of himself in the mirror. Oh, here's a picture of a potted plant.
Right here. I've seen so many of these pictures holding the phone out like this. Long ways, mind you, in portrait mode. Oh, that looks good. Boom. Okay, next. Boom. Over here. Boom. And it's, and then that's what gets posted. And then, so not only is it horrible pictures, it's horrible pictures of, your Big Mac boxes laying around and just random stuff laying around. It's like, dude, just clean up a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Even if you're a landlord and you have tenants, pay your tenants. Give them $150 to step out for a couple of hours while a cleaning crew, and right behind them is the photographs to go ahead and take it all. It's like a tenant's not going to say no to $150. Like, what?
No.
Oh, you want me to clean for $150? Okay, sure. Sure.
Exactly.
Is this good? Is this good? It's good. I can do this.
Exactly.
So that's just you have to don't fight the grain, play the game. Okay. So it's all just, I like to think of as monopolies. Like, why fight the grain? Play the game. If you know how to play the game, you win.
Exactly.
Okay.
So so cleaning up, just, and there's one thing that Chris and I were talking about earlier. I mean, there's a way we live, and then there's a way we sell the house. So the way we live is, we live in our house. I live in my house. You can't see beyond my camera right now, but I've got boards, I've got papers, I've got a table over here that's full of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in the house, and that's how we live. Chris heard it earlier. There's dogs barking. We've got everything going on, but these are all things that if I was going to sell the house, come through, clean it up. Dogs are going to be gone. Gone. We'll take them away.
No, they're going to be gone.
No. I can't say that. We're going to take them away when we show the house, and they're not going to be here. So let me hit on a point real quick.
Cool.
I have a photography company. I do a lot of photo shoots for other agents, and when I go to some of these houses, I'm having to shoot cats away. I'm having to shoot dogs away. I'm having to pick up, flip-flops that are, just randomly left places in order for me to take pictures. And I'm like, well, where's your agent? Why isn't he coming through and cleaning this stuff up? Or why didn't he tell you to, hey, take your cat out for a couple hours? You know, I don't know if I'm not a cat person. I don't know if you can take him on a walk or whatever, but get him out of the house. There was one house I shot. I literally, every time I put the camera down to shoot, the cat was like, the camera was like a magnet for this cat. So I think the entire house has a picture of that cat in it. There was nothing I could do about it. And I was, at that point I was like, look, I can't. I got to get the pictures and I got to go. And so
never had that. I'd be like, remove all pets.
No,
non-negotiable.
Yes, you have to
get rid of them.
Exactly. So I don't know. I went on this long tangent, but it's just
it's prepping. Like, you had a point to it. Like, if you have animals, get rid of the animals. Like, not for good, just remove them. Okay,
right.
Just that way we can do the things that we need to do. Like, the house has to be it's got to look like you don't live in it. Correct. All right. It's got to look like you live out of a freaking suitcase.
Yes.
Like, when you go into a hotel room, you don't see the pillow flat as a pancake unless you're in like a Motel 6. Like, you don't see the bed unshoveled. You don't see the chair with clothes on it or the hangers all over the floor. No, you see it prim proper to the crisp. It seems like it's just been sanitized 6 times over. Yep. Like, that's your house. Yes. Like, if you're going to live in it, and once it's on the market and you're allowing showings, you need to make sure you still act like you live out of that suitcase.
Yes, you got to maintain.
Right? You have to maintain. Yes. If you're having dinner at home, you can put things into the dishwasher and wash it, but make sure you put it up, because buyers are going to open that dishwasher.
Yes, I
do it all the time. I want to know, does this dishwasher look like rustic red that someone threw like paint into it? Correct. Like, or is it clean?
Yeah.
Like, buyers and good buyers agents dissect the shit out of homes.
And that's one thing I wanted to say is, when you go to look at a home with your agent, you're looking at the home, you're looking at where you're going to put your furniture, you're looking at, oh, my TV's going to go here, my couch is going to go here, how big is this bedroom, oh, I can put my bed here, so on and so on. When your agent's walking through that home, they're, oh yeah, that probably worked, if you notice, if you're looking for a home, you're with your agent, notice where the agent's eyes are. The agent is not really looking at where your couch can go. They're looking up, they're looking at the ceiling, they're looking at the floors, they're looking at your baseboards, we're looking all around. We're not just looking where your couch is going to, that's your job. You're going to be the one to put your couch somewhere. We're looking to make sure the house is still going to be standing when you move into it.
We're looking for those issues that will come up during inspections.
Yeah.
We're looking at those issues that will become obstacles.
Yes.
And we're looking for pretty much anything that could disrupt the close.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. Like, it really is. Yeah. Because sooner or later you're going to discover it. And it's like, do you want to discover it during the before you actually buy it process, or do you want to get into it and then you're like, why did nobody tell me about this? Yep. So that's why, like, we're in the era of know before you owe.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's over disclose. If you are a seller, you need to tell people everything you know about the house.
Yes.
Okay. If I flip over a rug and you didn't tell me that, you have termites in your wood floor, I'm going to be mad at you. And like, you didn't disclose, and that's against the law.
A little bit.
So the more you disclose, the better it is. I'm telling you right now, you're going to scare off, like, no matter how bad it is, you're going to scare off a lot of people, but you're going to find that one buyer is going to thank you.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I will fix that. Don't worry.
Yes. Don't worry about it.
Promise you.
Especially in this market right now.
Yeah.
But then, so that's kind of going back to for sale by owner stuff is, we're kind of throwing some of these things out here, disclosures and, the contracts and things. If you're not familiar with that, there's actually a formal real estate seller's disclosure that you have to fill out and present to the buyer. So when they're gonna give you an offer, that agent's going to call you up and say, hey, send me over your seller disclosure, your HOA disclosure, your lead paint disclosure if it's older than 1978.
Yeah.
What's
defective drywall if it's between 2002 and 2007.
So
condo disclosure if it's a condo.
Exactly. So if you don't have all that stuff and the agent calls you up and says, hey, send all that stuff to me, and you're like, oh, what are you talking about? Oh man, if that's a good agent, he's gonna walk all over you because he knows you don't know the industry, so he is going to pound you on price. He is going to tell you how bad your price is, and he's going to beat you up over it, or she.
Yeah, that's true, because our industry is dominated by women.
It is. It is.
And you're absolutely right. If you are going for sale by owner, all right, listen to me. If you're going for sale by owner, you can actually get a hold of these disclosures by going to the FloridaRealtors.org.
Yes.
All these disclosures are public record. All right. Yep. That way because there's no law saying you have to sell your house with an agent.
Correct.
Highly advocated because we've sold more houses than you on a general basis.
Yep.
Then, so we know the contracts in and out and all the disclosures that encompass it. But if you want to take a crack at it, read the disclosures, grab the disclosures, and actually go sit down with an attorney, a real estate attorney. Go sit down with a real estate attorney, not just any attorney.
Right.
Go sit down with a real estate attorney.
Right.
And they will walk you the ins and outs.
Yep.
Okay. The more educated you are, the more informed you'll be in how to address situations. And as they come. The FAR bar, and I think the ASs as well, just got a makeover.
It did.
So there's the contracts actually just got to change.
Mm-hmm.
There's some new disclosures that just come out, and I don't know, maybe Jared, we can actually discuss and actually go through contracts and stuff like that loosely, because we'll put people asleep with this shit.
No, I know. It's
open for legalities because we can't interpret. We can only read. So.
Right. Yep. If you mentioned talking to a lawyer or a real estate lawyer, either that or literally if you're hard set on for sale by owner and you don't know a lawyer, if you're watching this, give me a call, give Chris a call.
We'll call your friend who's a realtor. Call your friend who's a realtor. Is this right?
Yeah. So cool. It's not, it's not rocket science, but there is a process, there is a method, there are legalities to it that you have to follow in order to protect yourself. It's not just to make sure, I want to do a good job. It's literally to protect yourself legally, that a buyer doesn't come back, and sue the crap out of you for something that you didn't disclose because you didn't know. And let me tell you, ignorance is not going to play. That's not going to get you anywhere in front of a judge.
No,
you're not going to be able to tell a judge, well, I didn't know, Mr. Judge, that I was supposed to tell them that we had termites. I just, I left that out. I wanted to get top dollar for my house, and I didn't want to tell them. That's
so you mean to tell me you signed this 12 to 15 page contract without reading a single thing?
Correct. Yeah.
That's inexcusable. How old are you?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Seller, where the median age is 55 for a seller, by the way. So you should know better.
Yes.
So it's, again, as a seller, if you're getting your ready to house to sell, the more educated you can be. And if you don't want to do it by yourself, hire an agent. Yes. Vet the agent. Vet.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Looks like Derek answered. You said, Derek, can you elaborate on the extension? He said, my neighbor is renting a house and trying to buy a house. The last house he put an offer on, the barn and the shed did not have permitted electric, and the lender would not stand by the mortgage.
That's very interesting. So I think that mortgage company was being picky.
Probably, yeah.
Because that's not part of the dwelling. You're not living inside of that.
Right.
So I think that is a lender thing, not an insurance thing. Yeah. Unless the insurance says it's not permitted. But again, I think the mortgage company is being nitpick on that.
There's some other things there too. Sometimes when you have, you mentioned a barn, so there might be acreage. if you have an ag exemption, sometimes there's certain things you don't have to get permitted for. I think electric, you still have to get a permit for. I mean, by all means, if you know what you're doing, and
Well,
you
if
know,
it's low voltage, you don't necessarily need a permit if it's high voltage.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if this is like something with a barn,
right,
the barn, I mean, he literally said it, the barn. So you're
Yeah.
probably dealing with something more than 500 square feet,
yeah.
and that requires high electric. So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, yeah,
So
I can see that.
That could be. I mean, it could be a lender by lender, scenario where one lender may and one may not. Not really sure. Let's see. He said, but also he's been outbid of a house because of a cash offer, cash talks, I guess.
Cash talks when you're the seller.
Cash talks when you're the seller. Yeah, 100%. I mean, cash offers have skyrocketed. I mean, we've seen more
wild.
cash offers now than we have in
any time in history.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Here's some things just to kind of give you like a understanding. We are not only seeing our lowest interest rates in recorded history.
Yes.
Then compare, we're also seeing our highest median price in history.
Yes.
We're also seeing our lowest inventory in history.
Correct.
What a shitstorm.
Yes.
A lot of people are waiting for it to crash.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's going to crash because this is a real inflation. There are real buyers driving this force.
Yes.
I'm calling it the COVID effect. I mean, the whole country itself is moving.
Yep.
Everywhere. The whole country is moving. So, so these are real people, real buyers. People can't blame it on the mortgage companies giving unrealistic loans these days, to my understanding, because interest rates are extremely affordable. The Fed just came out this past Friday and they kept it at 2.875%.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I bought this house in 2020, February 7th, 2020 at a 3.25. I'm about ready to refinance.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, man.
And the equity that I've built it in the past year, that we've built into it this past year, I can actually knock off the PMI.
Nice. And that's the mortgage insurance that you're talking about.
Yes, the mortgage insurance. So if you have 20% or more equity into a property, you can actually file to get that off.
Yes.
So your payment actually reduces anywhere from $40 to like $60. It really depends on the size of the house and the size of the loan.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's I mean, somebody posted. I think it was one of our other agents. They posted. They did a comparison. It's like, interest rates are really low, but housing prices are high. And then they posted another picture where interest rates are high, but housing prices are low. And, the math that he did on here, and I didn't vet it or whatever, but actually you were better off buying now with the low interest rates. Your payments were a little bit less, even though the price of the house was a little bit higher.
It was a little higher.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, if you have a lower interest rate, that's the banks, the loan people, they know that you're going to pay that off so damn quickly. Their job is to make money off of that loan, off of that interest. So that's what's actually kind of crazy too, is that the interest rate to price point is at an all-time low too. It's not doing what it kind of should, but it's weird. It's awesome at the same time. And we kind of definitely got into a tangent about
we did
from photos to where we're at now. I think the whiskey's kind of good.
Hey, the whiskey takes us places, man. I'm telling you.
And I'm okay with that because it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's what we're here to do, is just, we have a topic, but then if somebody throws something in the chat room they want to talk about, or we go off on a tangent, I mean,
I'm okay with that.
I've got plenty of whiskey to keep going for another 3 hours.
Same.
But we're not going to do that. We're not
going to Jared, don't be that person.
I gotta go to bed at some point. I don't know.
We still have one more working day.
That's right.
Okay, so timeline. I want to get onto the timeline.
Yeah.
So once
Yep.
you have your photos, make it that shit look like a Lexus or whatever
Mhm.
your favorite dream car is.
Right.
Make the house look perfect. And once
Yep.
you start accepting, or really about timeline, don't rush it. There's a lot of times, Jared. I don't know about you, but sometimes I
Cheers.
get
Here.
sellers.
I got a
Oh
couple
wait, are we
people in the
cheers?
chat room. Yeah. I need
What's
to.
that?
I got Derek and Michael
Oh shit!
cheersing
Okay.
us, man. We're.
Hold on, man. We cannot be disrespectful.
I know,
with
right?
this.
All right, let's do this. Cheers. I know my
Cheers.
cup says Jack Daniels, but it's not.
Mine actually says Crown Royal. So if you actually look at it, I'm not sure if it's possible, but
It
it
is, I can
actually
see it,
it's
yep.
lasered engraved with Crown
Well, and
Royal
that
back
aren't
onto
you
it.
fancy, man? Dang.
Yeah. Cheers.
Lasered engraved. That's nice. Hey, what do you guys? What do you guys?
Yeah, what are you guys drinking?
What are you guys drinking? Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments there. I'm curious to see what
You know
we
it's
drinking water, or drinking some Coke, or we actually drinking whiskey. Or I bet Derek is drinking some vodka. I'm willing to bet he's drinking some vodka.
This gentleman Cole Holloman,
Yep.
he put up a post or like a comment of a smoothie or like a frosty of some kind. So he's definitely enjoying that.
Nice.
Michael's having some Bud Light.
Nice. I
like it.
Let's see. You see my last.
Hey Mike, have you tried the Bud Light like seltzers at all or anything like that? It's like you see my last couple of posts, T. That's great. That's great, Derek. That's awesome.
So yeah, the timeline.
Yes. So the timeline is actually really important. I've had sellers that say, "Chris, look, we need to move like yesterday. Like we need to get this home on the market now." And honestly, that's always seems to be the case. But once you put things into perspective, like as a for sale by owner or a listing with an agent, once you go onto the market, in this market right now, a contract is an average of 30 to 40 days, period. So no matter what, if you go by yourself or go with an agent, you're looking at a month and a half.
Yeah.
You need, and I can't stress this enough, it needs to be at least 2 weeks.
Yes.
It needs to be 2 weeks before you can go live. From the moment you sign your agreement with your listing agent, or even if you are a for sale by owner, it needs to be at least 2 weeks. And the reason for that is everything that we just covered.
Yeah.
You need to know your house. You need to prep it. Or you need to know your house. You need to determine the price. Correct. And you need to prep it for marketing. Yep. And you need to allow adequate turnaround time for the photos and for the video and for the marketing. That doesn't just happen overnight, especially when you're working with a realtor such as myself or you, Jared, where it takes us 48 hours, 72 hours, depending on how our schedule is and how busy we are, to go ahead and process all of this information. Make sure we get adequate social media posting going for it, and advertising. Syndication is not exactly automatic. So it needs to be a healthy respect of time.
Yes.
Anybody who comes in with their phone to take photos, you need to fire them right away.
Yes.
Because that's not Lexus or BMW or Jeep or Toyota quality. Like it's not. Like if you want Ferrari, you need to get Ferrari. Like I mean, if you look at Ferrari, Toyota, they're all the same when it comes to marketing and materials, and you want that badass who knows what they're doing. And again, that goes with vetting your agent. If you're hiring your friend, honestly, friends go a long way. But if they're new and you're trying to give them a chance, make sure that they're partnering with somebody that can make sure they're doing a great job with advertisement. Because you can take a really nice home and take shitty photos and you will not get traction.
No,
you won't get traction.
I tell you what, if they're not taking good photos, give me a call, not as an agent, but Droneified Pilots, my photography company. Give me a call. I'll come out there and do the photos. because it's literally it's going to be night and day. You know, there's
It will be.
if you go
100%.
go to my YouTube channel, if you go to YouTube and then just search JDA Florida Homes, I've got some videos on there where I do some how-tos about how to do the fake twilights. You actually take pictures during the daytime, but then you doctor it to make it look like it was done at night. So those are going to be cool photos. But then also there's another video on there, and I'm not going to play it here. You go watch it on your own. There's another video on there that there was a condo that I listed. The agent had it on. They had it for sale for an entire year, and the video, or well, there was no video, there was no 3D tour, there was only pictures, and I guarantee they were done with a cell phone. I can guarantee it. I have a video on there that I compare. I took those photos, I stole them, or whatever you want to call it. I stole them. I did a comparison of side by side, so you can see the difference between what good photos look like and what bad photos look like. It's night and day.
It's night and day, like you said. Like it's a stark difference between someone who takes it with their phone, with no preparation whatsoever. Someone who comes in, oh no, it's fine, and you wonder why that home was put in the market for 22 freaking days.
I'll put it this way: when I come out to your house, I bring, let's see, probably about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of equipment between my camera, my 3D tour. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you whistle there.
That's whistle material.
So my camera, my drone, my 3D camera, my gimbals that I use, all that stuff. So yeah, it's we're not just, I'm not coming here just to snap a few photos. I'm actually I've put some time and some effort, and I've studied, and I've learned a lot when it comes to doing these pictures. So I implore you, if your agent doesn't do them, just give me a call. I'll come out and do them.
No, we'll do it for you. Like I'm the same way, because I shoot all of my stuff as well. And I don't have the equipment. It's on my my board to get. But our brokerage is awesome enough to go ahead and lend us the equipment that allows us to capture it. So if you look at my past records, or if you look at even like, you can see the stark difference in why that home sold in 3 days, and why that home taken by someone with a cell phone at a very high angle, with them in the reflection of a mirror, with towels and toothbrushes all over the place, or dishes all over the place, and why that one sold at record high volume versus the one that didn't. So it really matters as a for sale by owner. And the thing is, as a for sale by owner, do not be afraid to pay good money to have real estate photo professionals to come in and take photos of it. If you want premium freaking dollars, it's gotta look like a premium freaking house. Plain and simple. Put money into it so you can get it.
It'll cost you about 100, depending on the size of the house. It'll cost you about 120 to 160-ish dollars just for photos. If you want to throw in drones, if you want to do 3D, it's a little bit more. The average agent, when I go and do an agent's house, they usually spend about $300, and that's doing photos, that's doing aerial photos, and then kind of a really basic video, just a walkthrough video. It's not anything high end. It's not really edited, not color corrected, anything like that. It's just a really basic video. So usually they spend about $300. When I go to a house to list a home, if somebody were paying me, and then I've done for other agents, my entire package, it'll cost you, it'll cost them for the full video and everything, somewhere around $1,200 to $1,500, depending on the size of the house. And I'm talking, really nice professional photos, aerials, 3D tours on Zillow, 3D tours on Matterport, professional video. And that's video where I'm using my high-end camera on a gimbal, and I'm walking through the house and getting, cuts of the house. And then I come back and I spend about 3 or 4 hours editing all that stuff, color correcting all that stuff, editing it to, cutting it to music so it's flowing with the music and make, it like I said, there's a lot of things you can do. The video is probably the most expensive part of what people spend,
especially what you're trying to go for.
Yeah. So if you want to save a little bit of money, just don't do the video. Do at least some nice pictures and some aerial shots, especially if you're close to intercoastal or a lake or something that you can't see from the ground. I've done some photos for agents where I show up and I'm like, dude, this house is literally 5 houses down from the intercoastal. My camera on the ground is not going to see the intercoastal. You sure you don't want aerials? Well, I don't know how much is it, and so I'm like, dude, come on.
If your agent realtor is afraid to spend money, you might want to reconsider, because if they're afraid to spend money on their own business to make sure a guaranteed sale, what does that say about them negotiating for you?
Yeah. Right. And you think, depending on what percentage you're paying them, I mean,
that too. I mean, if you're dealing with like a 1% agent, hey, I just want you to throw it up on the MLS. I'll take care of everything else.
Yeah.
Expect nothing but throwing up on the MLS. Exactly. What did I say earlier, Jared? Expensive is cheap and cheap is expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't expect to pay an agent shit money if you're not and expect them to be a high quality agent. You're asking the dentist to pull out the wrong tooth.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Come on.
I don't want that to happen.
No one wants that. I mean, there are doctors, unfortunately, who cut off the wrong leg. I mean, it's just like, oh my Lord, malpractice.
That's why they put an X on the leg that they're not cutting off.
Yeah, right? They knew. Because they've had to do that.
Yeah, because they just got done with their Whiskey with the Doctor podcast. They're coming in and you're like, hey, don't cut that leg off.
Yep. Oh, that's so true. It's funny, when I had my my meniscus surgery on my knee, they actually marked my other leg with an X, and I was like, what's that for? And they're like, yeah, so we don't operate in the wrong run. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I was blown away. I'm like, that happens?
Yep. Yeah.
It's like you forget what's your left and your right is.
Right. Well, I mean, when they're facing you, it's like their left is
different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different.
It gets confusing,
Okay. So once you determine your timeline, I'm going to get back onto it. Once you determine your timeline, showing expectations. All right. And this is where we're going to cut it off, because once you go into contract, it's an entirely different thing. And Jerry and I are going to do videos on what it means to be under contract as a seller and what does it mean to be under contract as a buyer.
Yeah.
So, but showing expectations when you're actually showing their house, we've actually already touched this. Like, you want to maintain the upkeep. You want to make sure that you act like you don't live there. You want to leave during the showings. Take your pets with you. I don't care. Take your pets with you.
Take them with you.
Distraction, because when I see a cat or a dog, I'm like, ooh, pet.
Yeah.
The buyer's doing the same thing, okay? Unless they're allergic. So.
Yeah.
All right. Act like you live in a suitcase and no interactions. Oh my God. Don't be there. If you're for sale by owner, I can understand if you want to be there. And that's fine. But if you're hiring an agent, go disappear. Go right around the block. Don't be present, because it makes buyers uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a giant pool of buyers, but the more you're present, you just went because you made them uncomfortable.
Because what happens is, when buyers go into a house, they're gonna talk about your house. They're gonna point out all the little bad things. And if you're standing there, or even if you're in the next room, they feel like they're going to hear everything you say. So they're not going to
talk
showing as much as they should. Yeah. Because when a buyer goes in there, they want to be able to, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. What's going on here? They're not going to, they're not going to pay attention to all that stuff. And then when they leave your house and be like, I don't really remember much about it, because they weren't talking about it when they were there. They were afraid to.
Exactly. And to continue on to that, the agent can't talk to them about what the issues that they found.
Correct.
Because what's going to happen? You as a seller, or your seller is going to go, oh, I heard you talk about this. It's
Yes.
this, and this, and
Yeah.
this, and this, and then next you
Yep.
know, more words are going to be exchanged.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there are still people who are stereotypical, and although the offer that comes in is the people that they met, but they know it came from that people they may not like. They're like,
Right.
no, I didn't like them. They're not buying this house, so I
Correct.
don't care if they give me
Right.
$1 million for it.
Right.
So it's that kind of interaction needs to be separate.
Mhm.
So you as a seller need to be gone.
Mhm.
Go see the house. Let me know what you think about it.
Yep.
As a for sale by owner, if
Yep.
you are a listing agent, you need to honestly control the seller and make sure that they are gone. If
they're
you're a
gone.
seller, hire an agent. Telling you it's better
Yes.
to disclose everything on paper
Yes.
than to be present
Yes.
and disclose it. Okay.
Yep. There's only been one time where it was actually a benefit.
I mean, there's sometimes there are benefits. But...
So sometimes, well, the benefit to the buyer side, but the benefit to the seller side. So yeah, I took some clients. We went and looked at this house over in Pearson, and this house. I mean, it was like a museum. There was things that we would have never known about. So I mean, the seller was there, and she was really pushing hard selling the house. She wasn't the agent, but she was telling us things about the house that we would have never known. Be like, oh wow, that's so cool. Oh, this was built because blah blah blah, and so she was able to provide us a lot of information about the house. So, but don't get lost in that, because most houses are not a museum. They don't need a curator to take somebody through and show you, here's the couch, here's my TV, here's the bedroom. Most people can do that on their own. If there's something unique about the house, typically if you tell your agent, they'll put it in the description, and then the buyer's agent will relay that to the buyers. So it's very rare.
They're going to relay it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very rare that a seller has to be at the house in order to explain what's going on. So just don't feel like you have to be there to sell your house, because it does more harm than good.
As a seller, if it's a control thing, knowing that someone is there, well, you're also paying your agent thousands of dollars, and you have the right to request them to be there for every showing.
Yeah.
I have been there for every showing because my seller required me. She asked me, it's like, Chris, I feel a lot more comfortable if you could be here. I'm very fearful of my house. I'm very, not fearful, but I'm very protective of my house, protective of my dog. Can you please be here? And I was just like, 100%.
Yeah.
So I don't care what level of an agent they are. If they can't be there for you, you might want to find somebody else that can do what you're asked, what you expect of them, and still be present for the showing. Yeah. And there are creative ways to do that.
Yeah.
Like right now, the market is amazing for sellers. So what I've actually been doing, Jared, is essentially I will mark the house live on like a Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep.
No showings until Saturday, and I'll do an open house. So instead of displacing you as a seller for hours upon odd hours, your pets, having to deal with them.
Absolutely.
No. We'll advertise it. Let it sit on the market for a little bit. That way it can generate the heat.
Yep.
And then come Saturday, open house.
They start getting anxious.
Exactly. They're like, oh my God.
Oh man.
We don't want to miss out on this.
I want to see it. It's been on the market for 4 days. Oh, I want to see it. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Saturday's the day. Okay.
Saturday's an open house. Yes. Oh my God. We can go.
We're going there.
Let's go.
Yes.
And so I'll hold an open house. And I've been doing this for the last year. Doing open house. So long as it's not a gated community. But nonetheless, hold an open house for about 4 or 5 hours. Let everyone come through. Bam, 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 bam. Seller, go out, enjoy the day. Go to the park. Go to a restaurant. Go to a brewery. I don't care. Don't come back. I'm doing you a favor. Yeah. All right. And then you come back, and then next thing you know, we have a plethora of offers to present to you.
Yep.
And technically, generally speaking, in this market, you don't need to do an open house on a Sunday.
Yeah.
because everything has occurred on a Saturday. The build up occurred from Thursday, Friday to now Saturday as an open house where everyone was able to get to come in.
Yep.
Lock it down on Sunday. No more showings because I guarantee you're going to have offers so long as you follow our steps that we provided for you.
Exactly.
And then you just spend the next day and a half, call for highest and best, and then make it a determination on what you want.
And then you go spend 10 hours sorting through the agent goes spend, hours upon hours sorting through all the offers, the 30 offers that you get. And
I asked one of our colleagues, James Evans. He's in the Winter Springs market, and the Kilted Realtor. The Kilted Realtor. Cheers to that guy. I know he'd be appreciating our whiskey.
His beard was almost as good as mine when I had mine.
I've never seen yours, so I can't speak on that. Can't speak on it. But he provided me a template on that could help with, and I have that and I use that. Essentially, like offer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what, and all pretty much the bulk terms. Because if you're dealing with a seller, if you're on an analytical approach, it's all about numbers. I don't give a shit who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's very easy because like who's going to net you the most? That's it, and based on the terms. And then if you're a seller that requires that attention, like I would like to know who they are. I want to make sure it goes to a good family. I want to make sure it goes to and that's not so much about the money to me. Like I want to make sure like who they are. And so like a letter to the seller helps. Yeah. And so like when it comes to deciphering all these offers, it's really important to make sure the listing agent that you're hiring, or even as a for sale by owner, you take the time into consideration. Mm-hmm. That's all anybody ever wants is consideration.
Correct.
And a little humility.
Correct.
If you can provide consideration as an agent or consideration as a for sale by owner with a little bit of humility, you're going to sleep very well at night.
Yep.
That's it. Whether you're analytical or relational.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I think we covered a lot.
Throw this up
what else we got?
Let me throw this up here real quick. It didn't work.
Would you try that up?
I was trying to do I was going to show you that picture of me with the beard. That was a long time ago.
Throw it into like the comment section so people can see it.
It was last year. Yeah, I'll do
Slacker.
that. I
bet it's not as good as my beard. It's not as good as my beard.
Dude, let me throw this bad boy up here because
I'm
telling you, I went. It was growing from like April of last year, and I shaved it in December. So, can I put it in here? I don't think it's gonna let me. I'll figure it out at some point.
Nah, man, just throw it up into the comments.
Yeah,
you can do it.
But I mean that's. I think we pretty much covered everything plus a little bit more. I mean,
no, that's it. I mean, like conclusion, like getting your home listed is a lot of work. We get that. The prep work is a lot. Give it 2 weeks at the very least. I promise you, your situation is not that dire. I mean, there's some outliers, of course,
right?
But I promise you, if you're trying to find a buyer, your average contract is going to be freaking 30 days. So an extra 2 weeks is going to be just fine. And then where are you going after that? And as a seller, if you want to sell and you don't know what to do next, you're afraid you're not going to find your next home. Well, there are easy ways to do that. There are a lot of solutions that you probably haven't thought of yet. And all it takes is finding the right realtor. So reach out to Jared or myself or someone that you know. It's like, hey, Joe Schmo, I want to sell my house, but I don't know what to do next. I've been watching the market. I can't find the house that I want. If something does come up nice, I can't. It goes in 3 days. What do I do? The smart ones know what to provide you. It's not comforting. Like as a seller trying to buy a house now, it's not comforting whatsoever. But if you can handle the discomfort, you're going to go a long way. You will
yeah.
get what you want, because hard times create hard men.
Yes.
Soft times create soft men. Ways for men and women, just so y'all know.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but after you go into contract, it's a whole different kind of perspective. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else? You got that beard? Is it up?
No, it won't let me post it it won't let me do a picture in the comments here.
Slacker.
I don't know why. I know. Hey, hold on a second. Let me. Here.
Yeah, you're right. Let me.
The sound's gonna go. The sound's gonna go away for just.
Holy shit!
It should be showing up in the. I'm sorry, I was missing the sound there for a second. I had to do it. Chris, why are you laughing? It's a good picture. So I don't know why you're laughing.
Look like you,
dude. It's totally me. I know I look more handsome now, but
that looks nothing like you.
Chris, you're laughing a little too hard at this. I'm not sure. I'm happy about that.
What do you mean? Like, that beard is amazing. I mean, the whole thing. Did you went golfing that day? Like,
no,
what is
man.
this?
That's just like, when you have a beard. That's just how you dress. Well, I mean, James Evans wears a kilt. And
he knew exactly what he was doing when he decided to grow that beard and wear a kilt.
Whatever,
all right,
man.
So he knew exactly what he's a classified genius. All right, first and foremost, I think you did it for the opportunity.
I did,
and the setting.
I did. I grew it for 7, 8 months just so I could take this picture right here.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So November 1st. So no shave November, right?
Yeah.
So November 1st to about February, March, I grow out my beard. So again, November, December, January, February, March. So 5 months. My beard. Okay, now you make me pull out my beard. I don't know if I can share it. Either way, it doesn't necessarily matter. But you grew that out in 8 months.
Yeah, it was from like April, and then I shaved it in December.
Holy shit!
Yeah, takes a lot of whiskey.
So what you're saying is,
yes, exactly.
Consume more.
Exactly.
All right. So let's wrap this up. We've been at this for a solid 2 hours now, if anybody has any questions,
appreciate everybody sticking out. The ones that are still here, I'm sure they've probably had more drinks than we have. Maybe, and that's the only reason that they're still here is they've had too many and they don't know how to turn it off now.
Are you kidding me? I mean, Mike is having Bud Light and the other one's Derek's having Bush Heavies. So, I mean, to their 2% versus our 46%.
Yeah.
I think we're doing just fine.
I think we're good. I think we're gonna have to start doing these a little bit less than 2 hours, because otherwise we start getting a little bit going off and
silly.
A little bit.
Well, that's okay, but I agree.
Maybe we should have a couple of these before we start, so then
we won't get anything done.
No, we won't.
No, that's the part. That's the cool thing. People like to get drunk with us.
That's right.
And I think that's the cool part of it. Like, it's the fact that it's candid. People like long form conversations now. I'm an advocate of long form conversations. I listen to it every single day. Yep. So my favorite podcast to listen to is pretty much JRE, like Joe Rogan. Yeah. I listen to Gadsad, Lex Friedman, and a whole bunch of other people. The Drunken Philosophers, which are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen to health podcasts. Like, people long for long form conversations. And I think what we're doing here is very appropriate for our time zone that we're in.
Yes.
We can't let that deter us for having a good time.
And I was just looking over at Derek's comment. He's got hang loose, waves, wave emoji, like a ocean wave emoji, palm tree, sun,
beer,
cheer, and then is that a fist?
Yeah, it's a fist.
All right.
I like it.
All right, guys. Well, that's all I think we have for tonight. Unless you have anything else to top it off, Chris. I mean, I think we covered a lot.
So actually, let's say this. What is going to be the next subject?
I mean, I tell you what.
I'm pulling up the Trello board.
Yeah, if you're still watching.
If you're still watching, yes, I like it. Go ahead.
Or if you made it to the end, or you fast forwarded to the end, if there's something that you want to see, put it in the comments, because then that'll give us something to talk about. We've already got a list of topics to go through and talk about. I mean, contracts. At some point, we're going to talk to a contractor about building homes. I've got another person that I've got lined up to talk about investments. So this guy, he's actually investing in mobile home parks. This doesn't really go hand in hand with residential sales or realtor stuff. I mean, it kind of does, but it kind of ties into the investment side of things. And he's done, so he's on his 4th mobile home park now that he's purchased. He's converting and he's turning a profit. I mean, he is kicking butt at these things. And the last one, I actually invested with him on it. And, we just closed right at the end of last month, right at the end of August. And so there's a lot of, I see all the emails that come back and forth between, his company and buying the property. But, without getting too deep in it now, there's a lot of opportunity in that, whether you're just investing in it or whether you're doing it yourself. And so I talked to him earlier today, and he mentioned, he's like, hey, if you want to have me on, I'd love to talk about what I'm doing, investing and everything like that. So I mean, there's some cool things that we're gonna talk about on here.
That sounds freaking awesome to have him on there, because I was actually, did you know that you can buy marinas?
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, what? I stumbled across that. So I was actually driving by a billboard sign and it said, buy me. And I was like, buy me? Like, what the hell is that? Yeah. So I looked up and I was just like, I pulled it up. I'm like, holy shit, I can buy this whole billboard sign for like $150,000. Yeah. And I was just like, holy crap. And then that led me into like a string of things. And I ended up coming across like buy a marina for like 2.2 million. I'm like, a whole marina? Right. It's like, this is amazing.
Yes.
And like, there's some cheap marinas out there too.
Yes.
So like to buy a whole mobile home park though, I'm sorry to cut you off. No. But you own the land.
Correct.
Yeah, so and then, that's the difference. That's not real estate related, though. I mean, it is, but it's not.
It is, but it isn't. It's more investment side of real estate. I mean, he has a real estate license. He's up in Georgia, but he's buying these things in Mississippi, Alabama. He's looking for one down here in Florida. So, but it's still, you're looking at real estate. You're getting a loan. You're taking investments. So I mean, it's a lot of the same sort of process, but it's really fascinating. I mean, if you're an investor looking into getting into that kind of thing, or just whoever, it's pretty cool. It's something you don't think about. He's like, awesome. A whole mobile home park, okay, but somebody has to own it, somebody has to run it, and that's what he's getting into. So so yeah, I mean, that's, we kind of went on a tangent there, but
I like it. We should start doing more tangents.
I think so. Or
at least just a podcast with just where we just talk off the cuff.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do a whole podcast of tangents.
Off. Well, maybe we should do whiskey with an agent. Let the whiskey talk.
There you go. There you go.
like
That could be dangerous. So we'll have to do that like I
In
think
person.
yeah, either that or you have to do it like after midnight. I think there's some laws or something that you can't talk about certain things.
What? What do you want to talk about, sir?
No, I'm just kidding. Nothing at all.
Oh, exactly. That's it, officer. Nothing at all.
Right, nothing at all.
I
Well,
like it.
that is all I have.
That's
Unless you have, I tell you what, I've got a little bit more. So, cheers to everybody that's still with us. I appreciate you guys watching. And I'll wait for you. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, you only have a shot worth or a quarter of a shot.
Nah,
so that's all I have
a little
here.
bit. So,
Exactly.
everybody that still has a little bit in their glass, if not, grab a bottle and cheers. Thanks for watching.